Hi there, it's me, Ivan Paz. I am employed with Fresno Metro Ministries, serving as the Better Blackstone Community Engagement Manager, and I'm currently applying for the Community Land Use Academy Project Manager position with Every Neighborhood Partnership, and I am submitting this video to ENP, or Every Neighborhood Partnership, as a response to some of the required questions in the application process. So let me start with question number 1. What resonates with you about ENP's mission and vision? That mission statement is very meaningful to me, and let me share why. So in 2010, believe it or not, I went on a personal retreat to develop sort of a community engagement identity. At the time, I was wrapping up college, and I really was getting into the community development scene. And so I went on a personal retreat by myself. I spent actually a lot of time in prayer and reflection from where God found me to what God was calling me to. And so through a series of different activities, I started reflecting a lot on some of that and where I was going. And what ended up happening was I developed a a personal mission statement. My personal mission statement is: God has rescued me from among the poor, the marginalized, and even the criminalized, to live among the poor and to empower them to seek shalom in their community and in their city. Is one of the things that I realized during my college experience was my ability to be able to work with common people in some of our disadvantaged neighborhoods, and to really simplify or make sense of some of the big concepts that surround social injustice and things of that nature. I'm also like just a huge bookworm, so I can kind of do that with a lot of other things. But I think in terms of my calling, that was one of the main skills that I feel like God helped develop in me. And so I have made a commitment for the rest of my life to serve, or actually live and serve among the poor, but also be able to empower them to to understand some of these complicated things, and then also how to strategize and bring the changes they want to see. So the mission statement completely resonates with me. Number 2, the vision. I think along with what I just mentioned about my personal mission statement, this falls in line with it. But I will point to one thing: the students excel piece. I really like that because, when I started the community development, my community development experiences or journey, I started with a lot of residents in the little neighborhood. And then eventually I began to work for InterVarsity Christian Fellowship, and I served as the director or co-director of the Pink House. And during my experience there, I had to kind of do the opposite. So with my students, I was translating a lot of the stuff they did not know about a marginalized community. So the culture, the people, mental frameworks that people carry, or general mental frameworks, how to get beyond the stereotypes. And so with my college students, I began to translate some of that stuff into their language. Let me go to the next one. So what resonates with you about ENP's staff values? So I love all of the values that you have listed, but the one value that really catches my attention today is Jesus-centered. One of the things that happens often is, and if I could just be frank, Jesus is not looked at in a good light. So for one, I think a lot of maybe the non-believing friends, they kind of equate Jesus with the church. And of course, the church has a bad reputation in the world. It also has a good reputation, but it has a bad reputation because of imperialism and colonization. Um, and I think the value for being Jesus centered for me is that, as I shared, my personal mission statement is completely Jesus centered. And so it's important for me to do work being fueled uh, by that mission and vision. Um, but I think the world needs to know that social justice and Jesus are not mutually exclusive. It excites me to see that boldly stated in in your list of values. And yeah, that's what I want to do. Okay, last question is on an effective project manager. So the question is, what do you think makes an effective project manager? So most definitely an administrative muscle. So yeah, everything from planning, strategizing, communication, which is probably one of the main things. Collect information, data, results, uh, how to implement metrics to make sure that the project is going in the right direction. But I think also an effective project manager that's engaged in community development work needs to have another muscle. Um, it may not be absolutely necessary because this muscle can be developed, but I think the muscle I'm talking about is also the opposite of administration. There is a culture in the office and there is a culture in the neighborhood. And those two cultures are very different. And sometimes they can put you in the middle of tension. So um, in the office culture, when you're submitting when you're submitting results on deliverables, when you're managing data, when you're going to a meeting, it seems like sometimes yeah, everything has to be organized. So what I do is is a journal, and in the journal I have the journal divided by all of the grant projects that I'm working on. And so whenever any meeting takes place for any of the projects, or whenever a task is put on my desk on a list, I make sure that those go into their appropriate part of the journal. And so uh, that helps me keep track of all of my tasks, uh, projects, and even ideas that I have for this community or that community. Um, but it's all based off of managing my planning, my data, my communication, and projects, everything. Um, but the culture is very much, it kind of revolves around the clock quite a bit. And so I'm sure y'all know what that feels like, having the clock behind you, running from one meeting to another, collecting information, and so forth. In the neighborhood, however, people don't walk around with journals. The clock isn't behind them. I feel like oftentimes, in fact, residents are like, 10, 15 minutes late to a meeting, which sometimes will, as a project manager, that kind of pushes you or your administrative part to the side a little bit. And so, um, yeah, you'll feel the tension between those two, but you have to learn how to manage those in a bit. And the key thing is communication. So communicate with residents well, um, and make sure that yeah, they're on the same page about projects and things like that, deadlines. And sometimes you do have to be, just straightforward and say, hey, we need you to be on time. But I think I don't want to get into so many examples, but I do think that there is a balance in managing your administrative muscle with your on the ground community culture muscle. The subsequent question is, how would you manage your time to be able to recruit and train 40 community members and 40 local stakeholders or CBO leaders? In my journal, as I said, I have different parts of my journal is divided and based off of the grant projects, and I have lists. And so what I do is I color code my items on each list, and one color represents what is priority, like what is the main things I need to be doing, uh, and so I'll see that color code, and I don't have to look through all the items. I just see the color, and so that kind of helps me. Um, and then secondly, another color code represents urgency. So what is very important, what is almost an emergency, not because of procrastination, but because of the nature of the task. And then number three, what can wait? So these are things that, like maybe, organize my desktop. I have a bunch of stuff on my desktop, organize all of that. That's not urgent. That's not priority. That can wait. But when I have time, I will put that together. And so the color codes will help me distinguish these three. And by distinguishing those, uh, I can also look at my weekly or monthly schedule. And so it really helps me sort of immediately identify spaces in my schedule so that I can do other things. Another aspect of time management involves my personal life. Whether we like it or not, our personal lives and our work life intersect quite a bit. In the past, I used to stuff not only my work responsibility list, um, but I used to do a lot of stuff outside of work. And so from 2016 through 2019, I did a lot of other stuff that had nothing to do with my job, except for maybe social justice. So everything from um, managing 701 United, which is a community gym with martial arts that's located in the Lowell neighborhood, and I would do other stuff like Somos Fresno, organizing demonstrations, and I also started developing a network for Latino Christians. And so my life was just overwhelmed, and it gave no room for to stay late at work. Or it did. I would have to force it, but it made it very difficult. Now I think one of the things that I do is outside of work, I don't let the clock god follow me around. So I'm very fluid. I'm very flexible. I just work out. I I read a lot of books. I play the guitar. I draw, and I hang out with at least two friends a week. And so that's kind of my time uh, outside. That's what my time looks like outside of work. And what it does is it creates a lot of space to be able to do more innovative things with the work that I'm actually assigned to. And so I found that to be a better model. So a lot of my organizing work is really focused on my responsibilities as a project manager here with Metro. I think I would do the same with every neighborhood partnership. And I will mention that one of the things that I've really loved doing outside of uh, outside of work that is not necessarily a responsibility for work. And I share this only as an example of time management. So right now I have a lot of time outside of work. And so what I've decided to do was create my own curriculum. I'm a professor or an adjunct professor. And one of my skills is curriculum development. And so what I did was I kind of took the city planning program from Fresno State University, looked at their bibliography and course list or curriculum, and I developed my own. And so I'm going to graduate from my own program and tap myself on the back and say, good job, Ivan. Well, those are that's the my answers to the questions. I hope you don't mind the just casual nature of my responses. Um, I will say this. In general, I really love the work that ENP is doing. I sort of have been watching for years, and I've seen how much they've grown, not only in staff, but also in vision. Maybe not that the vision has changed, but just kind of the approach and engagement in the community. And it's an exciting place. I think ENP has a great future um, with connection to the community. Um, I really love the nature of this role that has been developed. Um, for me personally, it connects a lot with my street mind and also my professor mind. I love when academia, theory, and concepts, together with life experiences in the margins, come together to seek shalom in the city. Thank you for your time.